If I said find the marginal distribution of gender, what would we do? My gender are male and female. So right now, I'm going to ignore the top three. So France, Germany, and Spain. So I'm going to take my female total and divide by the grand total, and I take my male total, divide by the grand total. That would give you marginal. Okay? I think we're, for the most part, okay with marginal.
And question 2 could be, find the conditional distribution of country by gender. These two would give you drastically different results in this case. Let's take a look at the first question. Find the distribution of gender by country. A hint that I have that might help you is when they're asking for the conditional distribution of gender, I advise students to look at the categorical variable gender. Since in our two-way table it is moving vertically in a column, each country needs the percentages calculated by column. So for France, Germany, and Spain, we're going to go in columns to do the conditional distribution of gender by country. Let's take a look at what the graph looks like in a segmented bar graph for this example. Notice our question was find the conditional distribution of gender by country. We have the countries listed separately, and inside the country we have a male and a female split out. So this does answer the first question correctly. Find the distribution of gender by country. Let's take a look at the second question. Find the distribution of country by gender. Again, I advise my students to take a look at which categorical variable they want the distribution of, and it is of the country, which is moving horizontally in our two-way table. So I want to calculate percentages for male and for female going horizontally across the two-way table. Looking at the distribution of this particular data, we can see it is split out according to gender, and then each country has its own separate piece of the segmented bar graph.
Often in the book you're going to see examples that say organize or follow the four-step process to complete this question. We're not actually going to do it, but everybody's like, well, Ms. Ruth, what really is that? What is the four-step process? It's state, plan, do, and conclude. So I gave you all the questions, all like the definitions of this. You would state the question, you would write a plan, you would say, I'm going to make a graph of this data and then analyze it. You'd actually do the work, so you'd make your graphs, carry out your calculations, and lastly you would draw a conclusion. We're going to do it like in a sense, but I'm not going to have you write out, this is stating the question, and you're going to write the question out. I'm not going to have you say, this is my plan, and I'm going to write it out. But just so that when you see something like this come up, you're like, oh, that's what we're talking about. For the superpowers example, we've got that data in this packet here. We want to calculate the conditional distribution of responses for your males and your females. And I did not leave you much room to write, but we'll do that up here. Let me flip back. You stay on here and show me your work on here, the conditional distribution, but I'll put the data up here so that you can look at it. This was your data. We want to calculate conditional distribution of responses for males and females. So am I going to divide across? Or am I going to divide up and down? So it is of responses for male and female. So for me, I'm like, of responses, that comes first. Where are my responses? I'm like, oh, all of these are my responses, so I'm going to divide up and down. Others of you, this will make more sense. You're like, for male and female. So I need one for male that adds up to 100%, and I need one for female that adds up to 100%. And again, that shows you we're dividing up and down. So go in, recreate a table. If you abbreviate, that's great. We have invisibility, super strength, telepathy, fly, freeze time. And what's happening? We do one for female, and we also do one for male. So for me, I'm just going to take that, and instead I'm going to turn them into percents and get my answers in there. So again, show me your work on the first 2 in each column, and then I can see what you're doing. So we have 17 out of 115, 3 out of 115, so find out your percentages, and then down below we're going to make a bar graph and draw some conclusions. So once you get your percents down below, it's a lot of words there, but I just kind of tried to walk you through what does this whole process look like. So part D says, based on the survey data, can we conclude that boys and girls differ in their preference of superpower? Give appropriate evidence to support your answer. And then I just say, read the process below and complete the do and conclude. So if we were to state the question, we would maybe say, what is the relationship between gender and the answer to the question, what superpower would you prefer? We write our plan. We suspect gender might influence a child's opinion about superpowers, so we compare conditional distributions of responses for males alone and for females alone. And then we created our table. Next, we create a segmented bar graph comparing opinions of males and females. We use percents instead of counts since the number of males and females are different. Again, we don't want to just look at this and say, oh, females have a greater preference of invisibility. We need to look at our percents because here in this case, the percents are actually exactly the same. So when your totals are different for males or females for each of your categories, we got to turn them into percents so we can make a good comparison that way. So make your segmented bar graph, and then we can draw some conclusions based on it. Female add up to 100, males add up to 100%. So you've got your female, you've got your male. Make your segmented bar graph that goes up to 100. Roughly. So invisibility, I'm just going to do this even up here. Invisibility. And freeze time. Does that make sense? And then we can take the percents and stack them all on top of each other. Invisibility, 15%. 3%. $34, 31%, and then my 17%. You can fill in your second one. 15. and then draw a conclusion. Look at a couple different sections and say, females prefer this one over males for telepathy. Females prefer telepathy over males. Males and females are equally split with invisibility, both saying 15%. So on. Through a different textbook, I found different sets of data, and I wrote my own questions to go with them so that you can see what's the difference between marginal, what's the difference between conditional, and are we getting the right answers. I will put the answer key up under the screen in a second, so as you go through, you can kind of see. I put it through the copier. It like shrunk it down from a full page to half a page, but as it was going, I'm like, I guess that's okay because you can use a space off to the side to show your work or on the back or wherever. I'd like you to get this done before you go because there's a short book assignment, that second part of the book assignment I'd like done for tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're going to quiz on 1.1. Okay? So this worksheet and that second line of the book assignment for tomorrow, I'll put the answers up here so you can check, and then we'll quiz tomorrow. Do we ever use notes on quizzes? Occasionally, depending what it is. Not on this one, though. Good question. We will on tests. I'll give you a note card for tests.